Kickstarter. It's unavoidable, really. If you're a part of this industry, you've probably at least heard of this site. Most likely, you've probably also gotten an earful by now from people claiming that its systems are on the verge of collapse and the whole crowdfunding model is doomed to disappear. Well, duh! That's why nobody buys stock anymore, right? Yeah, professional investors are a myth. Whoever even heard of someone making a living off of knowing how to spend their money? Not me. Look, guys, sites like Indiegogo ain't going away because some people are scammers, idiots, or both, especially when its major successes look like Shovel Knight. Produced by Yacht Club Games, whose members previously worked for WayForward, I might add, Shovel Knight is a 2D retro-inspired platformer with an emphasis on upgrades, skillful jumps, and the quest to defeat 8 different bosses. Your titular weapon is the key to all of this, allowing you to dig through walls, bounce off enemies, and even reflect projectiles, among many other useful things that the levels teach you naturally through their design. Platformers live and die by their ability to be easy to pick up, but hard to master. What I mean by this is that they take very simple mechanics and then use every level to let you use those mechanics in ways different from every other. This formula is the cornerstone of the genre, and from the beetles in the Lost City to the disappearing platforms of the Lich Yard and the many, many hazards of the Explodatorium, Shovel Knight has almost mastered it. You can say what you want about the pogo jump being like DuckTales, you can say what you want about the selection of bosses being like Mega Man, and you can say what you want about the pixel art games in general, but you cannot deny that through clever design and brilliant mechanics, Shovel Knight has made all these things its own. Inspiration is not the same thing as copying, especially when you establish an identity for yourself. So how does Shovel Knight establish an identity? First, it set a very defined tone and experience it wanted to achieve, which all started with its aesthetic. Make no mistake, pixel art and chiptunes still have their fans, especially with guys like Yacht Club making arguments this good in their favor. Moments like the after-stage scenes with the fire flickering against the trees and the way all your obstacles and enemies pop out so well from the background is a testament to how important it is to establish a good direction for your art instead of just flexing your graphical muscle. Pixel art is a great avenue for this because the building blocks that make it are just that. Blocks. The tools are very basic, and fluctuations between how they're used are very easy to spot. So, when the entire focus is using them to help remind us of where our love for this genre came from in the first place, all you need is an artist talented enough to realize it, and it's mission accomplished. It isn't strictly 8-bit, nor completely devoted to higher resolutions in every area like many 16-bit games. It finds a happy middle ground that all works to make the design more functional and more beautiful, which you probably don't need me to realize by now. Speaking of things you don't need me to tell you, video games are more than just art. I realize this. But sometimes art can enhance a game by putting you in the specific mood that the gameplay is also trying to achieve. If you haven't played these types of games a lot, you're going to die quite a bit in Shovel Knight. And even if you have, you're probably going to die a couple times anyway. Now, when you think about dying in a retro game, what comes to mind? Long trudges back from the mid-stage checkpoint, losing all the power-ups you've built up, and watching in a panic as your life counter slowly ticks down to the point where you'll have to start the entire game over again. In contrast, look at how Shovel Knight handles death. Instead of losing a life, you lose some of your treasure. If you die again before you get back to reclaim that treasure, it disappears. You can lose as much treasure as you want and still beat the stage, but managing to hold onto it will give you more access to perks like extra health, magic, upgrades, and even new armor sets that could make future stages even easier. Even finding secret collectibles in the stages ultimately rewards you with more gold, except now it can't be taken from you unless you quit the stage prematurely. There's also the matter of the checkpoints. There are plenty of them in every stage, but you can actively change that in the middle of gameplay. If you're feeling confident, you can break these open to give yourself extra gems. However, if you die before finding the next one, you have to go all the way back to a checkpoint you haven't broken, which could very well send you to the beginning of the stage if you get too cocky. Also pay attention to how it takes 3 hits to break them, meaning you can't even trigger it by accident. By doing this, you're making the conscious decision to get rid of that safety net for the promise of a higher payout. So, let's take a step back and review all of this. This looks like a retro game, sounds like a retro game, and plays like a retro game, but is extremely fair in terms of difficulty. Doesn't it feel satisfying when you beat a stage without dying, owing your victory to the power-ups you worked so hard to get, then on your second playthrough, successfully get away with breaking a few checkpoints? Don't you leave the stage feeling so accomplished this way? Doesn't it feel rewarding? That is the entire point of Shovel Knight. It's a retro game with modern design sensibilities, both paying homage to where it came from, as well as using modern power to deliver experiences and additions to those core concepts that we never could before. But it's also grounded enough to do this in a smart, approachable manner that rewards increasingly higher and higher thresholds of skill when you are ready to take them on. This is pretty much what design mastery looks like, but really, I expected no less from a group of dudes who helped develop Mighty Switch Force. If you don't at least try this game, you are seriously missing out. So if you didn't get it through Kickstarter already, definitely drop some treasure on this one.